Hello everybody, welcome to another video of English phrasal verbs and English expressions. In this video we're going to be looking at 11 expressions and phrasal verbs that have to do with direction. And I don't mean direction in the sense of up, down, left, right, front, center, back, but more in terms of expressions that obviously have to do with tangible physical things, but more on metaphorical, symbolic terms, right? Which ultimately is the idea of these phrasal verbs and expressions, right? They're more like idiomatic expressions. They're a little bit like poetic, right? Okay, well, without further ado, let's get into it. The first one is without skipping a beat. Without skipping a beat is kind of related to hit the ground running, which we saw in military expressions. In this case, when you skip a beat, you know, when your heart skip a beat, it's bad, obviously, but that's like taking a pause, all right? So when you do something without skipping a beat, it means that you immediately do it, right? You don't wait, you just 1, 2, 3, let's go, right? So the meaning is to do something immediately and confidently without hesitation or interruption, right? So you say, I'm going to start my new job without skipping a beat. I'm going to start the project without skipping a beat. I'm going to do my homework without skipping a beat, right? Like right away, get into it. An example here is she answered the difficult question without skipping a beat, right? So this could also be impressive if someone knows a lot or studied very hard for a test and they know the right answer. Wow, that was impressive. Like she answered without skipping a beat, without pausing, without thinking about it, right? Okay, a question for you. Can you find or can you think of a time when you had to answer or respond without skipping a beat? So let me know in the comments if you have ever been under pressure where you maybe were in a competition and you had to give an answer right away. Okay, let's move on to the second one. Find your footing. So this one's interesting because your foot is where you place your body basically on the ground and you're able to know where you are, right? And this kind of makes reference to that. The meaning is to adjust or become stable in a new situation or to gain confidence and control, right? So let's say you start a new job and you don't know where the bathrooms are, where the human resources department is, where you're supposed to be, right? You need to find your footing. You need to adjust to the new situation. So an example here could be, it took him a few weeks to find his footing in his new job, right? Because he didn't know. It's common and it's normal. I think it's natural for people not to know what's what when they first start a new job or when they move to a new city or they're in a new situation, right? So you find your footing and then you become familiar and stable with the environment. Okay, so question for you. How do you usually try to find your footing in a new environment? So let me know, when you're in a new environment, do you ask people for help? Do you figure it out on your own? Do you infer it? Do you just not care? All right. Okay, so the third one, I'm going to level with you. Now, I heard this one recently in a series. It's very interesting. If someone tells you, okay, look, I'm going to level with you, it's basically like saying in Spanish, like, la verdad es que, right? Like the truth is. So the meaning is to be honest or straightforward about something, especially when the truth may be difficult, right? So let's say you're asking your boss for time off and your boss is like, no, I really can't do that. And you're being polite, please, I need time off. I really can't do that. And then, you know, please. And you're just like, your boss is like, you know what? I'm going to level with you, okay? We really need you to come because we're in a crisis or there's a big project or, you know, like this is the truth, the bottom line, right? An example, I'm going to level with you. We need to work harder to meet our goals, right? So this is like la neta kind of, right? Like it's the truth. So question, when is it important to level with someone even if it's difficult, right? Like maybe with a roomie or at work with a colleague, right? Or in relationships, right? It's always important to level with people at times, right? Not all the time, but sometimes, because the truth can be harsh, right? It could be difficult to say. Okay, number 4, I'll take my chances. I'll take my chances is like someone that doesn't care, but they are willing to take the chances. That's why they say, I'll take my chances, I'll risk it, right? I know it may be dangerous, it may go wrong, it may go awry, whatever, but I'll take my chances, right? So the meaning is to go ahead with something despite the risk, or to accept uncertainty in hopes of a positive outcome, right? So an example here can be, I know it's risky, but I'll take my chances and apply for the job, right? Or I'll take my chances and I'll go on the trip. I'll take my chances and jump out of an airplane and maybe I'll die, right? Something like that. So a question for you, when have you decided to take your chances even though the outcome was uncertain, right? So it could be uncertain, could be dangerous, could be something that you don't know, right? Uncertain. Okay, the fifth one, get under my skin. This one's interesting too. So if someone gets under your skin, it means that they irritate you, they annoy you, or they provoke you unintentionally or emotionally, right? So this is someone that maybe at work or at school is annoying, and you can say, hey, Bob gets under my skin. Like, Bob is just so annoying, right? He gets under my skin. Debajo de mi piel, right? Like under my skin. So an example, her constant complaining really gets under my skin, right? So it's something that someone does. Like this person is constantly whistling or something like that, and it gets under my skin, right? It irritates me. So question, what are some things that get under your skin, and how do you handle them at work, at school, with friends, with family? Okay, the sixth one is all along. All along is an expression that you can use like when something is resolved, when the conclusion is here, like where was the kid hiding? All along, the kid was in the closet all along, right? Like from the beginning, or the meaning is from the beginning or throughout a period of time. So an example here, we could say he knew the answer all along, but he didn't say anything, right? Like there's an episode of The Walking Dead where they're looking for this kid, Sophia, and they're living right next to a barn full of zombies. And they find out that all along she was in the barn, right? It's like, oh, después de todo, like after all this time, right? All along, this was the conclusion, right? And typically it's a very like obvious conclusion, like, oh, all along, right? So question, can you think of a situation where you felt someone knew something all along? And sometimes it's because people will hide it or people don't see it, right? So watch out for these type of situations and or things. All right, the seventh one, get on board. So get on board makes reference to like when you board an airplane or even like a bus or some type of transportation. But in this case, we're referring to like, you know, like keep up, like get with the schedule, get with the calendar, like we're already ahead, right? So the meaning is to agree with an idea or join in support of something, right? Typically we say this to people that are not on board, right? That don't agree. Excuse me. So if someone's like, I don't think that's a good idea, everything's gonna go wrong, blah, blah, blah. You can say, come on, Jim, get on board. Like, come on and let's do it together, right? Like join us. So an example, we need everyone to get on board with the new project. Your boss can tell you this at work too, or a teacher, or like a supervisor or a coordinator. Like we need everybody on board. Does everybody agree? Is everyone going to participate and do their part and do their responsibilities, right? Like get on board. So a question for you is, what does it take to get you on board with an idea? Maybe you're a difficult person who doesn't like to get on board with things. I know I am. And you say, I don't want to get on board with any of those activities, right? But what will it take for you to do it? Money, respect, status, I don't know, a raise, right? So let me know. Okay, number 8, hold it over your head. So this is like something suspended over your head, right? And it means to repeatedly remind someone of something they did wrong or use it to make them feel guilty. So basically you're blackmailing people, emotional blackmail, right? For example, she always holds my mistakes over my head, even though it happened years ago, right? So if someone holds something over your head, it means that they constantly remind you of what you did wrong in the past, right? Like, remember when you lied to me? Remember when you did this, right? And you can say, stop holding it over my head. Like, you said you forgave me, I apologize, right? Okay, so question for you. Have you ever had someone hold something over your head, and how did it make you feel? Right, so let me know. Okay, number 9, lose my train of thought. What was I saying? That's an example of losing your train of thought. So losing your train of thought, it means that you forget what you were saying or thinking, usually due to a distraction or something, right? So it's kind of like Inside Out, the movie. There's a train of thought literally in the movie. It's kind of funny. And you lose your train of thought, it means that you draw a blank, like you don't remember what you were saying, you forget it, right? So I lost my train of thought, right? Like, what was I talking about? Can you remind me? Yes. Okay, so you got back on track, right? There's a lot of these metaphors with trains and tracks for the mind. Okay, so an example can be, I lost my train of thought when the phone rang, right? So someone distracts you, something happens, and you forget what you were saying, right? It happens to all of us. Okay, so question, what usually causes you to lose your train of thought, and how do you get back on track, right? How do you remember and continue what you were talking about? Let me know in the comments. Okay, and well, we're not to the last one yet. It's number 10. Make the right call. So make the right call has two sides. It can be make the right call or make the wrong call. And make the right call in this case basically means to make a good or wise decision in a situation. So a call is something that maybe a military officer, a general, a coach, a captain in a sports team has to make the call, like, yes, we will do this, or no, we will do this other thing, right? So they make the call, they decide, and their decision is going to be evaluated with the results, with the consequences, right? Was it a good decision? Was it a bad decision? So if it was a good decision, you made the right call. If it was a bad decision, you made the wrong call, right? You made a mistake, basically. So an example here can be, she made the right call by leaving her old job for a new opportunity, right? In this case, it has to do with the person, but typically this has to do with more people, right? It affects more people, like in a team or in a match or in a game, right? Okay, a question for you. Describe a time when you had to make the right call in a tough situation. And the right call typically involves moral, ethical considerations, right? So it's not the correct or the practical or the easy choice. It's oftentimes the hard choice, but it's the right choice, right? It's a choice that will save everybody, that will not harm people, right? That will take the humanity approach, right? The humane approach to it, right? So that's the right call, typically in a tough situation, right? It's like when they say you can't be brave until you have to prove you're brave, right? Until you're afraid. Yeah, something like that. You can't be brave until you are afraid, right? That's when you can really prove you're brave, because when nothing's happening, when you're not afraid, you can be brave all you want, right? But then all along, were you brave, right? Okay, getting back on track with the last one, number 11, get to. Get to is very interesting because it means get the chance to, or to have the opportunity or privilege to do something, right? So a lot of times we hear people that maybe will say, oh, I was in France, but I didn't get to see the Eiffel Tower. Or I went to China, but I didn't have time and I didn't get to see the Great Wall of China, right? So this means that you didn't have the opportunity, you didn't get to, right? It's kind of weird, but yeah, it's like, also get is very flexible. Remember, it's like I got to my house, or I get to be president for a week at my university or something like that, right? I have the opportunity or the chance to do this, the privilege, the honor, right? So example, I finally got to visit Paris last year, right? So this means that you had the opportunity and you did it, right? I got the opportunity, or I got to visit Paris last year. So, question for you: what is something you hope you'll get to do in the future? Let me know in the comments. And okay, this wraps up our 11 direction expressions. I hope you enjoyed this video and get the opportunity, I hope you get to use these expressions in your everyday English interactions and conversations with other people. As always, hit like, subscribe, let me know what you thought in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video, okay? Have a good day. Bye.